people, dark people, darker people, somewhat darker people, and a few Caucasians. There's a few Caucasians. But the majority of Israel originally was either dark-skinned or black. So that is not cursed, because no man can curse what Yahuwah has blessed.
Exactly.
He told Balaam, he said, and Balaam found out the hard way. When his donkey had an accident several times. His donkey ran into walls. You don't want to have a donkey like that. Okay, you think you have problems with your car. Balaam had problems with his ass. He kept running his ass into the wall. Over and over again.
I'm leaving that alone.
Yep. And it was a continuing problem.
I'm leaving that alone.
And Yahuwah said, Balaam, you ought to be thankful for that ass that I gave you. Because he said, it's better that the ass crashes than your ass gets fried. And you die for being a false prophet. Am I preaching good now? I'm preaching a little silly, but I'm preaching good too.
Yes.
Now go back to verse 1. It is commonly reported that there is fornication among you. Now the Torah has to define what that is. It is the kind of fornication that even is not mentioned among the pagan Gentiles, that one should what? Uncover his father's wife's nakedness, or have his father's wife. Now, if this man in Corinth was sleeping with his mother, the word of Yahuwah would say that the man is what? Is having his mother, or uncovering his mother's nakedness. As Elder Chris had to tell us, he just can't keep this man quiet. Every time we try to move to something else other than plural marriage, this man opens his mouth. I don't know what to do. He's chasing people away. Members that would stay are leaving. Because every time I give them the microphone. So the sin in Corinth, Brother Chris, as he aptly pointed out, was that a man was committing what? Fornication, not incense. Fornication, because did Rav Shalom know the Torah? He was a rabbi. Yeah. He would know the Torah, yeah? Yep. How many believe Rav Shalom knew the Torah better than you? Amen. Better than me? Yeah. He was a disciple of Gamaliel, the great member of the 71-member Sanhedrin. 70 plus the Kohen HaGadol. Can I get a witness? Amen. I said, can I get a witness?
Amen.
So he did not specify incest, he specified fornication, worse than is found among the Gentiles.
Wow.
So we see clearly a man in Corinth who had more than one wife, because the man that was sleeping with his father's wife was sleeping with his father's wife, who was not his mother, who also would have been his father's wife. Yes?
Yes.
Would his mother also have been his father's wife?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
So what is fornication? So I love these people. Well, Rabbi, I believe in what you teach. I know you're right. It's just not for today. It was for the Jews back. The lifestyles that you're teaching from Torah is not. I'm with you. I'm not arguing with you. I'm not. You're right. I don't want to argue with you. It's just not for today. Well, was Corinth a New Testament congregation or an Old Testament Jewish synagogue? It was a New Testament congregation, and this man, whoever this man was, obviously had more than one wife in order for the fornicator to be sleeping with this man's wife. You see that clearly, Wilbur? Mm-hmm. This man, and there are many others. This is just a small example. You know why? Because in those days, they're not like we are today. They hadn't been completely Hellenized and Westernized. They knew what was kosher and they knew what was not kosher. And the fact that this man had more than one wife did not make him unkosher. The fact that one of his wives was sleeping with a member of the congregation, that's what made it problematic. Mm-hmm. Are you with me?
Okay.
So what is fornication? Can we see if we can come up with a definition, a Torah definition?
Relationship de men wife the father.
Yes, in this instance, in esta casa, sí, específicamente esta casa, but generally, what is fornication? Give me a definition.
A man sleeping with another man's wife.
A man sleeping with another man's wife, okay. Or with a married woman. Okay, very good. Why is it not adultery? The church tells us that if a man sleeps with another woman and he's married, it's adultery.
Because it pertains only to a man.
Why is it fornication?
Sex outside of marriage.
Sex outside of marriage. What happens if the man was single?
Then they're
Sex
married.
outside of marriage.
If
Okay.
they're married.
If he doesn't take responsibility for the woman.
So but he is sleeping with his father's wife. So he is committing what? Fornication.
Fornication.
And what is he causing her to commit?
Adultery.
Adultery.
He's committing adultery, right.
He's forcing her because the woman is the one who commits adultery. We've been told in the church that the man and the woman, and I had to learn this the hard way. I didn't know. A man cannot commit adultery. When a man sleeps with a married woman, he is guilty of fornication. She is guilty of adultery. We got to get our definitions from Scripture. We can't get our definitions from the way we've been taught. Let me continue. So, fornication. Now, let's assume this man was not sleeping with one of his father's wives. A clear case of plural marriage recorded in Scripture. Praise Yahuwah for that.
Amen.
And we have much evidence in our writings, and I show you. And let me tell you, can we talk? I want to be honest. Can we talk?
Yeah.
Talk.
The early church fathers, Origen, Justin Martyr, Augustine, they hated the Jacobians and the Jews with a passion. They hated Jacob, and they hated everything that Jacob stood for, including the way he lived his life with 4 wives. So no one from the church is going to say, bravo, bravo, to the way Israel lives, right? They're not going to say that. They're going to be against it. And yet we have in the writings of the church fathers, I'll be happy to send it to you, post it up online. Many of you around the world, instead of just getting angry and hitting your delete button, if you actually read the material, you might have a change of heart. Where the early church fathers quoted that some of the apostles, how many apostles were there originally? 12. Had more than one wife. Now, I just love when they tell us, well, that was for the Jews back then. Hello? The church fathers who hate plural marriage, they don't dislike plural marriage. They hate it. Because later on they got in bed with the state to produce 80% divorce rates and serial monogamy. Hello? Going from one lover, breaking covenant, going to another lover, breaking covenant, going to another lover. They wrote that some of the apostles of the Lord had more than one wives, and that they criticized the apostles for acting like Jacob, being in the flesh and not in the ruach.
Wow.
So you know where that attack comes from. It comes right from where that church business started. But by virtue of their accusation, they shed light on the fact of how the apostles, some of the apostles actually lived. By attacking the way they lived, you with me, Wilbur? They shed light on how some of them were actually living. Not all, I'm not saying all, but some. Verse 2, so fornication was rampant in the camp. Verse 2, and you are boasting in the behavior. Instead of mourning the behavior, so that he that has done this sin might be removed outside the camp. So we are to define fornication and adultery, and we are to mourn that this has befallen one of our brothers or sisters, and be removed outside the camp. Now, if there's a man who lies with a single woman, is that fornication? No. If he lies with a virgin, is that fornication? No. They are technically married. He needs to follow through and honor his covenant. If he fails to follow through, what did he do? If he failed to, he slept with a virgin, he slept with a single woman. He failed to follow through in marriage. Has he committed fornication? Yes, he has. He must follow through because he's already technically married. Biblical marriage has nothing to do with the state license. Biblical marriage has to do with the consummation between a man and a woman. So we are not to boast of the kind of stuff that goes on in the religious community, because it goes on today as it did back then. So that the one who does this or does these things might be removed. If we mourn the behavior, we will not mourn the removal from the camp. See? We get so sensitive that we mourn the removal of someone we like as a friend.
Enough we